Hello and welcome to Spicy EDU. My name is Clayton Tyler Trammell. I am a technology learning specialist with Fort Worth ISD. And today on episode 1.5, we have a very, very special guest, one of my favorite people in the ed tech world, and that is Mr. Jake Miller. Introduce yourself, sir, please.
Hey, Tyler, thanks for having me here, man. I'm psyched to be here. So yeah, I'm Jake Miller. I live in Ohio. I am currently an 8th grade science teacher, but I've spent time teaching a lot of different things in middle schools. Before this, I spent 5 years as a tech coach, but also on the side, I help educators out online, whether it's through my podcast, the Educational Duct Tape podcast, or on my website, sharing posts, sharing gifts, sharing all kinds of different things, just trying to support educators and going around and presenting. You know, I got bit with the bug, so to speak, years ago of just being excited about my ability to help educators using educational technology. And I just can't get enough of doing that. It's become a big part of who I am.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I want to say I borrow, but we in the education world borrow/steal. I've used a ton of your stuff. Giving full credit, of course. You do amazing things, and we really in the education world. I say thank you so much. All right.
Yeah, happy to do it. That's what I'm here for.
For sure. Okay, let me tell you how Spicy EDU is going to work. We're going to ask a couple questions and we're going to eat some peppers and have fun with it. I thought we'd get off a little easy and not do a pepper with our first question right here. And so I'm going to go ahead and just jump in right quick. All right. Hold on one second. And my first question for you is, as a Twitter user, but more so a lurker, a collector or borrower of resources, I haven't exactly amassed much of a following, much like you. You, on the other hand, have 30,000 followers, over 30,000 followers. Can you give us a little glimpse into how all that got started?
Yeah, so like that never certainly was the intent. I actually, the night I got on Twitter, which was like 8 years ago or something like that, maybe a little bit longer ago than that, was my first stint as an 8th grade science teacher. And I was taking out the trash one night and I looked up at a constellation in the sky that was like crystal clear. Like, you see this constellation that we've been talking about in science class. And I was like, I wish there was a way I could tell my students to look up at this constellation. I'm like, I have no way to do it. And a friend of mine had gotten on Twitter as an educator, and I was like, maybe that's what I need to do. And so I started this Twitter account for my students to follow me on, for me to communicate with them. Turned out they were not very excited about following their teacher on Twitter. And then it kind of evolved. I was trying to transition out of the classroom into a tech coaching or tech leadership role. And I found that as a good way to share and connect with educators from other districts. And then kind of as it went, I just found how much I enjoyed helping other educators. And I think that's kind of how it grew anyhow, is I found that I really enjoyed helping them. And then it turned out that they really enjoyed learning from me, right? They really appreciated that. And it's just grown over the last 9 years, however it was, as I've shared stuff, more and more people are coming and watching for it. But it never was the intent. The intent was just to help.
That is awesome. I love that story. Thanks for sharing that. That's really cool that it started with as your students and it's more evolved into helping the teachers. That's cool. And I'm learning something. I didn't realize you were 8th grade science. That's what I did for 11 years before I transitioned into this role.
Yeah, I did math and science and STEM and tech coaching, and now back in the science classroom.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, Jake, it has begun. We're going to start. So you tell us what pepper you are going to be eating for us, please.
So Tyler, I stopped at the grocery store on the way home from work today, and I bought the Hottie Mix, which is the best name for a bag of peppers ever. And so I'm not entirely sure I'm picking the right peppers here. For all I know, I'm incorrectly labeling them, and I'm picking the wrong one to start with. But I think this is the red Fresno pepper, which is pretty low on their scale. I don't know how many Scovilles it is, but you can see my arrangement, and it is the wimpiest pepper on my arrangement here. So I'm going red Fresno.
Okay, all right, go ahead and take a bite. I should also
tell you I've got my cafeteria milk next to me. Just
that is awesome. I love it. Cafeteria milk. That's awesome. Yep. All right, go ahead and take a bite.
We bite at the same time?
Sure. I'll go ahead and tell you. As I was telling you earlier, I took a gamble. I knew what these were before I left the office, so I'm either eating a Thai pepper, which is pretty high on the Scoville scale, or I believe I'm saying it correctly, Shito, which is a little bit lower. And so we will go ahead and see. So go ahead, man, go for it.
Okay, here we go. Ooh, that's the low one. At first I was like, this isn't really that hot. And then I got the juice. It's pretty hot. Yeah. Is water permitted?
Oh, absolutely. There is no tough guys here. You can do what you need to do for sure. I think I gambled right. That was definitely on the. Well, I don't know if that's going to be. That one was pretty warm myself, so this will be fun. All right, let's just keep going while we got you going. Okay. You have a great and incredibly useful podcast, which I love. I really love the name. But I found when I'm discussing podcasts with others, there's usually two camps. One who absolutely love them and swear by them and will start sharing their favorite podcast. And then you have people kind of like my father who are like, you listen to people talk? Like, so in your own words, could you tell us what a podcast is and tell us why they should be listening to yours?
So a podcast is any, typically they're audio. There are some out there that are video content. Hear my voice going out? Anyone out there that's audio content of somebody sharing anything. There are so many out there about so many different topics. They're not all learning related. They're not all instructional related. They're not all educational related. But there's something that you can subscribe to in any audio listening platform you're on, Spotify, Pandora, your phone, your Google Home, your Amazon Alexa, anything, and gain information from it. So the goal of mine is to share about how educational technology can be used to solve problems in a classroom. So whereas there was other podcasts out there that I listened to that just say, hey, today we're going to talk about Flipgrid, or today we're going to talk about Pear Deck, or today we're going to talk about Kahoot, or whatever educational technology. Mine goes at it from the other angle, which is today we're going to talk about how to differentiate in the classroom, or how to do formative assessment, or how to whatever the problem a teacher might have is, or a goal a teacher might have is, and talk about what technologies would we use for that and give some ideas for it. One of my favorite things about podcasts is there are so many options out there that when somebody thinks like all it's just people talking, well, that's some of the podcast, right? But every podcast has its own style. So I try to keep mine pretty fun and lighthearted, and we goof around the show and I play games with my guests. And then other people are like, hey, like I'd rather just listen for 15 minutes, Jake, get in, get out, get the information and move on. Like, and then there are other podcasts for those people too. On mine, we try to have a little more fun and get to know the guests with some fun games and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've really enjoyed listening to yours. It's a lot of fun. And I like that you address that. It's not just so much of dumping tools on them, like, hey, here's this tool, but you discuss why you should be using this, and you give them solutions on, say, this is a problem, here's a possible solution that you could have for it. I really like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, you ready for the next pepper?
Yeah, I don't know if I should go up a notch, but I'm going to. Man, if that was the low one, then this next one that I've got here, I'm not sure based on what the bag says. It's either a Serrano, which is like they say 5 times as hot as a jalapeno, or a finger hot, which is a little bit higher on the scale. So this one's going to be pretty insane. So you might see me cry. I've got a trash can next to me too. Just
okay. All right.
What are you going with next? Are you trying the other one now?
I'm gonna, now that I know that one's on the upper end, I'm gonna go with, I believe this is the chili pepper like that you just had. So I'm catching up to you.
You're gonna make me look bad when you eat it and you're like, this is nothing.
No, I've always been scared of red, so we will see. Go for it.
All right, ready?
Yep.
This one is so much wimpier than the other one. I might have been eating them out of order. My kids are over here watching me. They're hoping that I lose it or something right now.
That's awesome. Maybe I am too. That could make for some good episodes. All right, cool. Woo. That mine started off pretty sweet and it was good until it started rolling around my tongue. That's a little warm there. Okay. All right, here we go. Next question. Speaking of your podcast, it's called Duct Tape, correct? Yes. Yeah. Which is an awesome name. I thought that was really cool. But curious, what is the best or most embarrassing thing you have used physical duct tape to fix in your real life?
I don't know that there's anything embarrassing that I've ever used it for. The story, which the people that are participating in the Fort Worth conference on Saturday will hear about, comes from my use of duct tape to patch an inflatable bounce house that my kids have. That was the first time I used the duct tape. It turned out to be a really great patch for it. So that was my first use of it. But I think like other teachers, one of my other uses of it is dealing with that problem, where you have those posters you're super excited to put up on your wall and they keep falling down off the brick walls. Everything you try the sticky putty, you try the packaging tape. I've tried duct tape for that too. It didn't work, but it did leave gray marks on my walls.
That is awesome. Yeah, I think all teachers are very familiar with whatever works. I know hot glue gun worked, but then you just know without at the big end of the year, you're going to be pulling that paint off for sure.
The camera. My children, they've been learning remote for all this time, and yet they still don't understand how webcams work.
That's awesome. I love it. How many kids do you have?
There are three kids in the Miller household. My wife would say 4. She'd count me in there.
Okay. That's awesome. Okay. All right. We've got one more question. So one more pepper. You want to tell us what you're about to dive into?
Should I try a little nibble of the habanero? Actually, you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to wimp out on that. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to this red one, and I want to see if it is, because to me it was hotter than the green one. So I'm going back and trying it out and seeing if that was a false alarm that time.
All right. Okay. And I will be going with I believe this is the Thai chili pepper, which is very misleading. Based on the scale, green is supposed to be on the lower end, but I know for a fact this is going to be rather hot. So dive right in, Jake. All of you.
Yeah, there's no way this is the lightest one in the bag.
Okay. Fun times. Oh my gosh. My mouth is on fire. All right. I'm glad you're the one about to do the talking. Okay. And lastly, this pandemic has taught us a lot about the way we live and shone a rather bright spotlight on different industries, whether it be emissions or working from home, things like that. What do you think the pandemic has taught us about the world of education, albeit good or bad?
I think it's obviously something on both sides of the scale there. One is, the bad part is just how much our culture expects from our teachers and from our educators. It's pretty bonkers what we expect from our teachers, right? We expect them to eat the habanero every day and to do it while taking attendance and talking to kids in breakout rooms and who knows what else, right? But I think the other thing it's taught us is our teachers actually kind of can do it, right? Our teachers have rocked it over the last 10 months. I've been amazed by them. You know, a teacher like myself who's tech savvy, like, this has been tough for me, right? I'm tech savvy, and yet transitioning this environment's been really, really hard on me. And I look at other educators who were not, you know, super into the idea of using technology beforehand, and they're not only surviving, they're thriving, many of them, you know. We're still excited to get out the other side of this, and we know that the education is going to be better when we could all be back in person and be safe when we're together. But yet the things that we've accomplished in this last year, I think, have been mind-blowing. I'm just so proud of teachers every day for what they've done.
That's awesome. And I'm so thankful that you took I'm not thankful, but I think it's really cool that you took the positive spin on it, because you hear a lot of the negative, but you're exactly right. There are many thriving and going beyond. So that is awesome. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of tripping over my words because my tongue is on fire, but hey, man, yeah, you are done. You have survived this episode of Spicy EDU. So the next how much time you need is yours. Tell us where to find you and what you got going on.
Nice. So you can find me on any social media at Jake Miller Tech. I'm even on TikTok now. I'm trying on TikTok. Whoa. I'm like the kids. I'm hip, and I'm at Jake Miller Tech there, just like everywhere else. My website is jakemiller.net, and the podcast again is the Educational Duct Tape Podcast, which you can find at eduducttape.com or anywhere where you listen to audio, literally anywhere, even YouTube. But more importantly, coming up here in about 48 hours after we record this, I am going to be speaking to the educators of Fort Worth, as well as whoever else turns out to join that party. And I'm so eager and excited for that.
That's awesome. I know we are super, super stoked to have you, and I know Fort Worth is lucky and stoked to have you as well. So thanks so much, man. We really, really appreciate you doing this with us.
Thanks, Tyler. Have a great one, man.
All right, you too.